You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
Labor Day is on Monday, so that means that a lot of folks in the Valley are going to be, they're going to be off work on Monday. And why is that? A lot of folks, there's a big complaint around a lot of holidays that, with Christmas, with Veterans Day, with Memorial Day, just anything. It seems like there's a common complaint that, people don't know why we're doing this. People have forgotten the true meaning of Christmas, or people have forgotten the true meaning of Veterans Day or Memorial Day, right? That's a common thing. And it's no different with Labor Day. Labor Day has been kind of mystified, abstracted, and people don't really think about how did we get this day off? Is this just a day off work? Is this just a day, for most people, this is just a day that you get off work and you go and grill and you don't really think about anything else. But Labor Day in the United States has a really interesting history and a bit of a sordid history, unfortunately. And we did a really deep dive before we got on the radio. Again, this is on our YouTube channel. We did a pretty deep dive on the origins of May Day, which is the International Labor Day. So we talked a little bit about the September Labor Day that Americans celebrate. No other country celebrates Labor Day on the first Monday in September. Most countries have their Labor Day on May the 1st. And so there's a really long story about how that came to be, but the gist of it is that May 1st was always associated with more radical elements and more militant elements of the labor movement, which I think David and I both we both identify with more. And in order to cut us off from that history, from the history of people that were doing general strikes in Chicago in the late 1800s, where almost every industry shut down on May the 1st, in order to cut us off from the history of people of unionists that believed that workers should own the means of production and should be able to, that they were entitled to the full fruits of their labor. In order to cut us off from this history of militant and effective action, the oligarchy in the United States, the president Grover Cleveland, and the right wing of the labor movement in the American Federation of Labor, they pushed for us to celebrate Labor Day in September instead of on May the 1st, like every other country in the world does. And it's worked pretty effectively. Like nobody, and nobody even knows that Labor Day really is associated with unions and that the fact that, unions are the working people that got us this day off, that it's not just something that was bequeathed to us. And so they're definitely cut off from the history of May the 1st. And that's really unfortunate that, that we've allowed ourselves to be cut off from our history like that. It's really tragic, because there's a lot of good history about May Day, about May the 1st, and why that's the real Labor Day. That's why every other country in the world celebrates it on that day. And the capitalist class, the owner class, is just so much stronger in America that they were able to pull us away from from our more radical history.
I had done a little bit of research on the May Day, because I kind of figured and just so everybody knows, I'm like struggling with this video this morning. Generally, we hadn't had any problems with video going out and been able to stream over the radio, but for some reason these aren't wanting to go out. So I have, and it's so difficult to try to troubleshoot while
you're on the air.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not like we can troubleshoot up here during the week and try to broadcast. So I apologize for that. That's a slip up on my part. But I'd done a little bit of research on Labor Day, on some of the history going back, and the reason why the government basically capitulated. They didn't want to give workers a day to celebrate what we had done, what we had created in this nation. All the way back to the early 1800s, with the start of the Industrial Revolution and people working 7 days a week and 12 hours a day. And the fact that we've come almost full circle. Now, granted, we don't have child labor, but how often do you hear we really don't need unions any longer, yet, most people don't have more than just a few $100s in their savings account, and they're one major incident away from being bankrupt. And most people are working 6 and 7 days a week just to get by, and it really speaks to where we're at today. Looking back at the wage inequality, what we seen in the early 1900s is almost identical to the wage inequality we're seeing today. As far as the 1% versus the 99%. And we are happy to go along with that because they've given us just enough to make us feel like we're surviving. A decent car, a nice house, some sports on TV, a phone, and everybody thinks that they're making it when, the fact of the matter is most people, especially your age, I mean, you can probably speak to this better than I can, but for certain people in the Gen Xers as well, are going to have a difficult time retiring and getting out of the workplace.
Yeah, well, you can look at you can look at graphs of people's wealth, of different generations' wealth, and you can compare it to, and so there's multiple graphs comparing, millennial wealth to Gen X and to boomer wealth when they were in the same age bracket. And it's astounding how much less wealth millennials have compared to Gen X when they were our age and boomers when they were our age. And a big part of that is, you've got student loans, obviously, but the wage stagnation. I mean, like I make basically, when you account for inflation, I make significantly less, but my starting salary was only $3,000 higher than my mother's starting salary when she went into the workforce after college 30 years ago with the same degree. I have the same degree as my mother, and she made the same starting salary as I did, basically $3,000 less 30 years ago. I mean, that's crazy. That's insane. And of course, part of the reason for that is a declining strength of the labor movement. Unions we don't have the power that we used to have, and so we're able to be taken more advantage of by the capitalist class.
Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your time. If you want to see what we're up to throughout the week and get our snide quips about the news of the day, then you should follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Valley Labor Report. We're on Twitter at Labor Reporters. I'm on Twitter at JacobM_AL. David is on Twitter at Radical Unionist. That's spelled RADICL Unionist. If you missed part of the show and want to go back and watch it later, search YouTube for The Valley Labor Report and subscribe to our channel. You can go back and watch the full show there, and we also clip segments throughout the week. And we also upload the program on more than 11 different podcasting apps. So you can see if we're on your listening platform of choice. You can go to thevalleylaborreport.transistor.fm/subscribe. And if you appreciate our work and want to help us stay on the air, then consider throwing us a couple dollars a month on patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report.